Hey, what's up, guys? Ron Harris here with the channel, Ron Harris Muscle. Not here today to talk about the throat slam or any of that, the gym incident between Mike Van Wyck and Jeff Nippard that was all over YouTube, all over mainstream media, even picked up on it. We're done. We've moved on. We've forgotten about that because CBUM's going open. That's what we're all thinking about now. But one aspect of that whole situation really bothers me because it's not an isolated incident. For many years, there's been this fallacy, this myth that the biggest people, the biggest bodybuilders, the people with the most muscle mass, they're the most knowledgeable, they're the best at coaching, they have the most valuable information to pass on to everyone else. It's just not the case. So first, I wanted to go to Mike Van Wyck's Instagram post that preceded Jeff Nippard's response that ended up in that unfortunate altercation. So this is what Mike had to say. Okay, let me just pause it right there. Oh, did I not even show it? Let me try that again, guys. Let me try that again. Yeah, I don't think I even shared the screen. What a dumbass. Yeah, so here we go. All right, so
say you're in a gym where you're stuck with.
We
all know the science-based guys. Any top three you choose. Tell me if you would describe their physique as excellent, average, or mediocre. And where would you put them in that? I guarantee you it's not in excellent. It's somewhere in the middle, right? Science guys really need to answer this question before anything. Why is it that you remain so mediocre, yet you know so much? Because if I knew a lot of shit, I'd be very well-versed and good at that topic, right? Like say I was some financial wizard. I knew how to like read the stock market and I'm like, I can see investments and like I can see what businesses are going to succeed. I'd be fucking rich, right? People would be like, yeah, he's a fucking genius because like look at him, he applied it and it.
Okay, so that's where I had to pause it because that's where this analogy that he's making does not make any sense. It doesn't work in the case of bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is largely genetics. Your success, the physique you build, it's a very unfortunate truth. It's something a lot of people are in denial about. A lot of people don't like to hear because your genetics are predetermined while you're in the womb. They're based on the DNA that your mother and your father passed on to you based on what their mothers and fathers and going back dozens and hundreds and thousands of generations passed on to them. If someone has awesome genetics for building muscle, they don't have to be very smart. I've seen it many times over the years. I have known thousands and thousands of bodybuilders and lifters. I've been going to gyms for damn near 40, close to 40 years now. I've seen people with tremendous physiques, great physiques, who were not very bright. Some of them were incredibly unintelligent, actually. They didn't know what they were doing. They overtrained. They would break every rule in the book. They ate like crap. They ate junk food. They didn't eat enough. Their form was shit. Everything they were doing was wrong, yet somehow they still look great. Why? They had awesome genetics. Now you throw steroids into that mix. Someone with great genetics and they're on steroids. I've known tons of guys with gifted genetics who used good amounts of PEDs and they looked fantastic. Some of them didn't train that hard. Some of them didn't eat very well at all. Some of them partied all the time. They didn't do anything right, quote unquote. They still looked amazing. So Mike's analogy about the financial advisor or the stock market advisor or the Bitcoin expert, these people don't rely on genetics. Anybody can get rich, theoretically. You don't have to be born of certain lineage or parents. That doesn't matter. To be a champion bodybuilder, to look like a champion bodybuilder, you have to have very special genetics. It's a rare thing. I always say it's kind of like height. There's a spectrum. Most people are on the average on height. Some guys and girls are below average in height. Some are above. Most people are somewhere in the middle. Same thing goes for genetics for bodybuilding. Very few people have gifted genetics for bodybuilding. Most people have average genetics, and then there are people with below average genetics. Because just because they look a certain way doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing or that they don't train hard. I've trained very hard. I've done things the right way. I've done PEDs. I still didn't look as good as people with better genetics, and people with worse genetics than me. I've known them who probably worked a little harder and a little smarter than me. I'll admit it. And I still look better than they did because I had better genetics than they did. As far as the financial analogy, I totally agree with that. If someone's giving you financial advice and they're dirt poor, you'd wonder what's wrong with this person. If they know so much about making money, why don't they have any money? Why haven't they made money? Doesn't really hold true. Plenty of people are very knowledgeable about bodybuilding and do things the right way. They know all about training, nutrition, even supplements, PEDs, all that. They're still never going to look fantastic because they just weren't born with those gifted genetics. But let's finish off with Mike here.
Fucking work. Bodybuilding, you can be like this big or this short in some cases, maybe this short in other cases. It's always short though.
Not cool to blast the short kings there. If you're 5'11" or 6 foot or whatever Mike is, or any of you tall guys, that's genetics. That's luck of there. But for the grace of God, go I. When you see a shorter guy, you didn't do anything special to be taller than that guy. You just happen to be born taller, like a giraffe. Giraffe didn't do anything special to be 16, 18, 20 feet tall. That's just how giraffes are. Anyway, let's continue.
No taller than Bassett. Somehow you're an expert on muscle, but you don't have any. And if you do have any, it's not that well put together. And there's a lot of like holes in the physique. And you've prided yourself on being strong. Fucking little, but I'm strong. If I was stronger than you, dude, it's like strong doesn't matter. You still are trying to squat 6 plates. I'm not squatting 6 plates. My legs are still bigger than yours. Sadly, you do need to apply what it is that you know for people to trust you. But they got these fucking nerds or these fucking dorks. They try and prove themselves in shows and they come in like fucking last. There's a lot of scammers if you guys.
So, okay, I think that's enough there. I'll stop the screen. So, one point he's making there is that a lot of these guys who are very, very knowledgeable, and they're always looking at science-based reviews, studies that are done on muscle growth, protein assimilation. A lot of people are very well versed in these things. They follow all the research, and yet they still don't look impressive. They look mediocre. Well, most people will look mediocre no matter what they do compared to people with great genetics and that are on PEDs. If you go to a natural bodybuilding competition and you've been used to going to non-tested shows, especially pro shows, you're going to think, man, these guys look pretty mediocre. They must not train very hard, right? They must not know what they're doing. No, they train just as hard as those huge pros that are super impressive, but they probably don't have the genetics, and you can argue about the natural status or not, but they're not on all those drugs. Anybody can get bigger and stronger on drugs. Anybody. You could be a moron. You could be I don't mean to put down people that are mentally challenged, but you could take a mentally challenged person, put them on PEDs. They don't have to do anything special. As long as they lift some weights, they're going to grow. It's not that hard. Drugs work. They work very well. Anyway, wanted to get into what Jeff's response was. He did defend himself, and that's probably what led to the altercation. I don't know if you call it an altercation. It was pretty one-sided. He got thrown across the gym. But this is what Jeff Nippard had to say in response to what Mike said. Science guys really need to answer this question before anything. Why is it that you remain so mediocre, yet you know so much?
I know I don't need to respond to this, but since he asked, using science-based training, I won Natural Bodybuilding Nationals. I earned my pro card on the most competitive stage in the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation. I placed second in my first bodybuilding pro show, and while doing this, I set the Canadian record on the bench press, and I set a provincial record on the squat. I currently weigh 180 pounds at 5'5" tall, which is pretty close to my natural limit given my height and my genetics. That's all besides the point though, because facts are facts. Information is either right or wrong. It doesn't matter who that information is coming from. If the people with the best physiques had the most knowledge, why would C-Bum need a coach? He has the best physique on the planet. Who could possibly know more than him? Well, it's pretty obvious that bodybuilding success comes from great genetics and really hard training. And if you want to make it in the IFBB, steroid use. I like science because it gives me more confidence in what actually works and what doesn't, because it isolates variables. If you trust a big guy's advice over scientific studies, that doesn't bother me. I listen to what big guys have to say too.
We all know the science-based guys. Science guys really need to answer this question.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I thought Jeff handled that pretty well. It certainly wasn't anything offensive enough to warrant Mike being upset enough to assault. I know a lot of you guys don't even want to say that was an assault. Let's see you get grabbed by the throat and thrown 6 feet on your ass and tell me you weren't assaulted. But anyway, we're not talking about that anymore. We're way past that. We're just arguing. We're debating the fact that a lot of guys who have these great, impressive physiques, they look that way almost in spite of themselves because they just happen to be born with these gifted, exceptional genetics for building muscle that every other person isn't necessarily born with. If they train very, very intelligently, if they do plenty of PEDs, if they eat well, get enough sleep, they're going to look amazing. Person with average genetics can do all those same things. They're not going to look as impressive. They will look mediocre in comparison because drugs work and genetics are king in bodybuilding. Like I said, a lot of people do not want to hear that. It is what it's called an inconvenient truth because you can't change your genetics. So it sucks to hear that if you're not one of those lucky few born with those great genetics. So just a quick story. There was a guy named Bill Pettis. He was a bodybuilder in Venice Beach area I think around the late Arnold days, so maybe say late 70s, early 80s. He worked in the parking lot of Joe Gold's World Gym for a long time. Joe gave him a job. I believe he was autistic. He was mentally challenged, handicapped in some way. I gathered that from speaking to him on a few occasions. But the point is, he had legit in his prime 20, I think there were 21-inch arms. Bill Pettis. And I'm not disparaging him. I'm just giving you an example that he was not, what you would call a super intelligent guy. He wasn't. Not everyone is. I'm not like a genius or anything. I'm a little brighter than average. I'm not a genius. But he was able to just do basic stuff. I remember Lonnie Teeper, who was a columnist and writer for Iron Man magazine for many, many years. He told me he went up to Bill one time when Bill was probably sitting there with his big arms on display. He always had a vest or a tank top on so you could see the arms. He said, "Bill, man, what do you do for those arms?" He says, "I do the curls." And I think all he did was barbell curls and cable push downs. I'm pretty sure that was his whole routine. And he looked, he had arms like I'll never have in my lifetime. There's nothing I could do to have arms like that. He just had great arm genetics, and whatever he did worked. Let's go to some of your comments, guys. I hope we're not talking about Throatgate. Okay, that's some thumbs up. I like that. Why is it not showing on the screen? Oh, there we go. Thumbs up. Mentally challenged person, like a politician. Talking about Trump? Come on now. I think everyone needs to just relax about the whole issue. Yeah, we should put on different stimulus. As long as you enjoy your training, you'll progress. Yeah, I agree with that, Brian. We're all in the gym. We're all lifting weights to better ourselves. We're all brothers in iron, brothers and sisters in iron. It's crazy how we fight amongst ourselves when the rest of the world views us as weirdos and outcasts for doing what we do, for being obsessed with going to the gym and obsessed with building our bodies and getting big muscles. Most people think that's ridiculous. A lot of people laugh at us, or at least sort of shake their heads and think, I can't believe these people waste so much of their time and energy and effort on that. And we need to get along. Brian, again, multiple style training that I've done. I both do an NPC, probably my training change. I enjoy all forms of training. Yeah, I've tried many, many different styles of training myself. I love training. So it does come down to genetics when we're talking about the results you get. There are people that I'm damn sure are much smarter than me, and they never looked like I did. And it's not because they didn't train as hard or as intelligently, or they didn't eat as well, or didn't use PEDs. And, they just didn't have, my genetics were probably a little above average, more so in just a couple body parts. Like chest, I never had a problem getting my chest to grow. Everything made my chest grow. My chest got big and thick from top to bottom, side to side. In my prime, my chest was enormous. Still not bad, but it was bigger. And my quads, no matter what I did, as long as I trained them hard and heavy, they grew like crazy. I saw other people in the gym trying their best, trying so hard to get a big chest and big legs, and they couldn't do it. Why? They didn't luck out with great genetics for those muscle groups. Darren, it seems to me Jeff has done more in sport weights. Mike, he became pro in natural bodybuilding, holds records in the bench and squat. Yeah, I that might have been what really sent Mike over the top as far as being annoyed, irritated, angry, was that Jeff pointed out his accomplishments. Mike did win the Canadian Nationals, Canadian Championships. Got to give him that. He got his pro card. As far as I can find in his records, he only did the one pro show, the New York Pro, and he took 13th out of 15 men. So he was close to last place. So my question would be, if you know so much, why weren't you a better pro bodybuilder? Right? I mean, if you're gonna throw stones, And you can't live in a glass house. You got to be able to pot, meat, kettle. Anyway, thoughts on CBum. I did a whole video on it yesterday. Go for it, fitness. Whole video, a live video. One of the best feelings when you see another meathead health backwards, you don't say where we give a head nod like, yeah, what's up, brother? Funny story about that, Brian, is so many. We also have this weird alpha male rivalry with other bodybuilders, especially if you're like the only or one of the only bodybuilders at your gym, and then one day another one comes in. I know for me, it was always like, you're like checking each other out, and you sort of like, I don't know, maybe not giving each other dirty looks, but until you talk to each other, you're like, you got this whole alpha thing going on. And I've so many guys that have come to gyms I've been a member at. We started off just sort of giving sideways glances across the gym, and eventually, once we started talking, we always ended up becoming good friends, sometimes training partners. So yeah, this is it's so what you're saying is like when you see someone at a gym, you expect to see bodybuilders, but when you're at like a big event or something, yeah, and you see another bodybuilder, it's pretty cool because we're very rare. There's not many bodybuilders. There's a lot of people that go to the gym and lift weights. There's not a lot of bodybuilders, people that really put the time and the effort in to build up the musculature to a point where it's very obvious, even from a distance, that's a bodybuilder. Non-IFBB bro. It's weird. Mike's training is to prevent injuries, yet Jeff does almost the same. They're both professing proper form. I don't know I don't follow either one closely enough to know exactly what the differences in their philosophies or ideologies are, but they can't be that different. I mean, we're all lifting weights. We're all working out, picking things up and putting them down. No doubt. It's almost like proving ground. Yeah, I mean, you got to earn the respect, especially if you're the one at the gym and you've been going to that gym for a long time, and then a new bodybuilder shows up. You're like, this is my gym. I'm the bodybuilder here. Sometimes we can be very childish. I know I can. 55 years old, for God's sake. Next one, Eddie Sketty, like spaghetti. I love to train balls a while back when I started in the 80s, but stuff doesn't heal at 55. Oh, you're my age, Eddie. Like back then. Now I call my training scientific. Well, you can't take chances anymore. You can't do anything dumb. You can't do what I call stunt lifting, going for like max singles, and you can't ever let your form slip up on especially certain compound movements, or you're done. You get hurt at our age, 55. You might never get bounced back from that. You tear something in your shoulder or something. When I was young, I used to probably tear things in my shoulder, my lower back, almost on a weekly, maybe monthly basis. They would heal. I would heal up and feel fine pretty quickly. Nowadays, anytime I get even a little hurt, it takes forever. 666, the number of the beast times freak. This whole Jeff Mike thing is too drawn out. What Mike did was wrong. Yeah, we're not talking about that. This is not about that incident at all. This is about the training, the whole mythos, the whole misconception, fallacy, lie that the biggest guys are always smarter and know more about training than the smaller guys. And it's just not true. Sometimes smaller guys do know more than the bigger guys. Bigger guys just a lot of times have better genetics. And a lot of times they might be on drugs and the smaller guys might not be. Jeff Nippard, 5'5", 180, natural. You're not telling me that if he went on blast some couple grams of gear, 10 IUs of growth a day, some insulin, you're telling me he wouldn't be 20, 30, 40 pounds heavier within a year or so? Of course he would. Of course he would. Then he would be more impressive. He would be less mediocre. He wouldn't be any more intelligent. It wouldn't mean that he knows any more suddenly about training or anything like that. Awesome. Brian Lee, especially when you go to someone else's gym. Yeah, that's so true. Kalyan Krishna. Hello, Mr. Ron. Thank you so much, Kalyan. Kalyan, I appreciate that very much. If you have anything at all, even if it's not related to Mike Van Wyck, ask away. I definitely want to treat you right for helping me out there. It's a small channel. I'm trying to get my views and subs up. So hit me up with a question, Kalyan. Anything at all. It doesn't have to be about this. Brian, again, do you think with the absence of CBum, shorter athletes like Ruffin may have a chance again? Mike was a bit shorter, I think, but not much. Mike Sommerfeld, to me, I don't know. I'm not sure how tall he is. So if CBum is 6'1", let's look. We could actually take a look, guys. I actually have that. Classic, last call out. This is open, guys. Classic. I'm just curious. I want to see. Second call out. Classic final call out. So let's take a look. Okay, so we have Urs on the right, CBum in the middle. Urs is probably about 6 foot himself. CBum 6'1". I think Mike, based on what I'm seeing here, It's kind of hard to tell in this pose. He's probably about 5'9". Maybe I'll give him 5'10". I wouldn't call that short. Ruffin is definitely shorter. Terrence is like 5'6". Breon's about 5'6". Yeah, you can see the difference in height. He's definitely a good 4 inches shorter, I think, than C-Bump Mike. Yeah. So, is he? Does that mean anything? No. I mean, the best guy's going to win. I mean, Wesley Vissers is tall. He still didn't place any better at the Olympia this year. I don't think it's got anything to do with height. It's just the physiques that are in front of them. Classic, I think a shorter guy can be the champ. I mean, Danny Hester, he's about 5'5" or 5'6". He was our first classic physique champ, Olympia champ. Breon, right after that, 2 wins, about 5'6". Then it went to Bumstead. And it wasn't just because he was taller. It was just he had a great physique. He has a great physique. He had an amazing look. If he had been 5'8", 5'9", with that same physique, same exact physique, just shorter guy, I have no doubt in my mind he would still have won all those shows. It wouldn't have made a difference. All right, Kalia, what do we got? I'd like to appreciate you for your amazing work. Did Kermit Solely, props to your beloved wife, friend Jill as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have a power hour coming up tomorrow. We're going to record, Giles and I. Giles did the tour with Andrew Jacked. I think they were together on that tour going all over different parts of Scotland, UK is part of Scotland, Scotland, England. I don't know if they went to Wales. He'll tell me though. So anyway, he spent a good week or 9 or 10 days with him. I'm very curious to see what he's got to say about the experience, because when you're with someone that much, you get to know them. When you're traveling with them and you're eating every meal together and stuff like that, you get to know them pretty well. Thank you, Mosa. Zadeh, you must be in Persia, Iran. Yeah, very. I tell you, I'm so sorry to see the situation between the United States and Iran. It's preventing an amazing athlete, Behruz Tabani, from getting a visa here. I know that Hadi is able to get a visa because he works for Hani Rambod, Evogen Nutrition. Behruz does not have a U.S.-based sponsor, supplement brand. But it's unfortunate that an amazing athlete like Behruz gets caught up in international politics. It has nothing to do with him. Nothing at all. Okay, Kalia. After Matt Jensen's fiasco, who do you think Nick Walker should ideally find himself? He's been hinting. I don't know if it's confirmed, but I believe he's made strong hints that his coach is going to be Dorian Hamilton. So Dorian of HD Muscle. Dorian was the coach of Quinton Araya, Quint Beastwood for a long time before Quint went to Matt. Who else has Dorian worked with? He's worked with a few people. He's a very good coach, and I think that's who he's looking for, which is odd because isn't Nick still with? Let's go to his Instagram real quick. I believe Nick is still with, or he's with Raw Revive, right? Which, that's Matt. Matt's a part owner in that company. Let's see what he's got to say in his Instagram. Okay. Stories. He's showing some Revive products. That's his sponsor. Get Raw Nutrition. Yeah, he's with Raw Revive. So this is Nick's latest update from yesterday. Looks to me like he's cleaned out. I don't think he's on gear right now. Yeah, he's usually bigger and full. I know he still looks enormous, but to me, I can tell it's a little softer look. It's not as full. And this is what he needs to do. Nick needs to clean out, stay off everything, all the gear for a little while, at least a couple months. Just let his system reset, get really healthy. Then he can come back and do whatever he needs to do after that. I don't think the coach exactly is that critical. I think all the top coaches are very good at what they do. Guys like Chris Aceto, Stefan Kienzel, boss of Outlaw. I know there's a ton more coaches. Patrick Tour, Mauro Sassi. These guys are all amazing. They're very good at what they do. So I don't think it really matters per se who he goes to, as long as it's someone that he can get along with, communicate well with, someone that's responsive to him, has time to work with him and gets back to him when he's got questions, things like that. That's more important to me. Tons of genetic freaks out there. Take DK Metcalf, who's NFL wide receiver, Jack and Sure eats 4 bags of candy a day, 1 actual meal for dinner. I guarantee if you guys all think back to when you were, some of you probably are still young, but when I think back to middle school, high school, there were a couple kids They did mess around with weights. I'm not saying they didn't train at all, but they certainly weren't like hardcore bodybuilders dedicated. They weren't eating like 5-6 meals a day. They weren't training that hard. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. And these kids, at least compared to the other kids, looked freaking great. They were just genetic freaks. We had a kid named Jorge Horta. In 7th or 8th grade, we called him Conan the Barbarian, who had just come out like a year before that. And he was jacked. He was super jacked. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. He was a kid. Greg, what's up, Greg in Montreal? What's up, Rose? Our friends, so stupid, difference opinion create. Can't we all just get along? Yeah, I mean, we all have different ways of training. We all have different ways of training. High reps, low reps, high volume, low volume. Some people want to put more emphasis on the contraction, some more on the stretch. Everyone's got different theories and stuff about training. In the end, if you enjoy your training and you're getting results, that's great. Why do you have to argue with someone about how they train? And to argue that my style of training or the style that I say is best is way better than the style of that guy is best, it's silly. Because if there was one best way of training, I think we would have figured it out by now. And that's what everybody would be doing. But the fact that so many people train in so many different ways and still get great results tells me that, hey, maybe there's a lot of different ways. There's many ways to skin a cat. There's a lot of different ways to train that get results. You don't have to do everything one way. Anyway, man, thanks for supporting Beiruz and Hadi. Yeah, I mean, like I said, man, politics should have no business in bodybuilding. Things, like religion. We don't talk about religion and politics. That's a catchphrase in America because they're very divisive things. And politics, international politics, countries getting along or not getting along, athletes shouldn't have to pay the price for that. It's not fair to them. It really isn't. So to see people that are in a country that just unfortunately is involved in wars and we've had bad relations with them for many, many years, and their athletes have to pay the price, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. Kalian, a few years ago, Chad Nichols helped Rami to win 2 Mr. Olympias after everyone ruled him out. Can Chad turn out to be that trump card for Nick? I don't know if Chad's still working with athletes. I don't know. I don't know if he is. He could be, though. Like I said, maybe a new coach. Sometimes a new coach isn't necessarily a better coach, but it's a new strategy. It's just new methods, new ideas. And a lot of times someone, if they've been doing things a certain way for a very long time and they're not getting results, all they need to do is something different. That's a lot of times with your training, you just start doing some different exercises or a couple different techniques, maybe doing your reps a little slower or a little faster, taking a little more rest time, a little less rest time, just changing little things like that. A lot of times just changing, period, can make a big difference and you'll start seeing results again because now your body's, I know your body's not a thinking, it's not sentient like that, but new stimulus. It's a new stimulus that the body has to respond and adapt to. Mose Zadeh, thank you very much. I wish I knew how to say thank you in Farsi. He did it again. Awesome, man. Appreciate you very much, Mosi. Sean, in regards to Jeff Nippard, you can't just say whatever you want on the internet. You can, but you may run into that person after they have simply man up. Well, Sean, you can't just hit people and not get arrested, not have to pay the legal consequences. So you can do whatever you want, but the law has the final say. So you might feel you're justified in smacking someone in the face for something they say to you, but in the eyes of the law, you are not. So we live in a society with laws, with police officers, with judges, with courts, with prisons. So you either play by the rules or you have to pay the penalties. And unfortunately for Mike, I don't think Mike's going to prison, nothing like that. I don't want to talk about that anymore, but he's not going to go to jail. He's going to have to waste some of his time and some of his money just, dealing with these charges. Favorite magazine cover. Oh man, God. Oh, I got some behind me there. Some of the old MD ones. Some of the old Flex ones with Dorian training. Geez, I can remember like Gaspar. Any of the old ones that like Chris Lund shot in the Chris Lund era, to like the 90s, the real hardcore training shots. I love those covers. Flex magazine had a bunch of those. The best fitness YouTube. Oh, thank you, man. So 160 mg test, the total test came 1300, a little high. I think I should lower to 120 so it'll be normal range. I'm going to lose my. Yeah, if you're worried about losing your prescription, because that is a real thing, guys. If TRT companies, TRT clinics, companies, whatever, they do want you to do blood work. And if they see consistently that your testosterone is coming in very, very high, what they consider very high, they might take your dose down. I mean, they're not going to give you as much testosterone every month. So one thing you want to do, and I'm not telling you to cheat the system, but you're supposed to wait till like the 7th day after injection to get your blood work done. If you want to really be at the trough, the low end, if you do your shot of 160, and then you do your blood work like 3 or 4 days later, it's going to be pretty high. If you wait another 3 days or so, it's going to start coming way down. Really the thing, I'm not a doctor, so please don't take any of this as medical advice, but the main things to worry about or to be concerned, aware of, you want to get your blood work done regularly. So no matter what your total test is, as long as it's not affecting you in a negative way, your blood pressure is not high, your kidney values, your liver values are fine, your hematocrit's fine, your A1C, all that good stuff. And I also get heart scans done. Every year I get an ultrasound and ultrasound. I'm going for a calcium CAC, or a coronary calcium score next week, which I haven't done for a couple of years. That tells you how much blockage is in the arteries. But if you do your heart scans, ultrasound, and I can't remember what the other one is. I've also done stress tests where they're looking at your heart with electrodes while you're on a treadmill. As you get they make you really huff and puff on that. So really, it goes by your health. If you're healthy, all your health markers are fine, and your heart, everything's good, then that 1300 test, it's not too high if you're still healthy. If it starts impacting your health negatively, yeah, you should take that down, of course. Let's go. What else we got? That was it. Mosi, thank you, Mosi. Appreciate that very much. King of Persia. Yeah. Okay. How do you feel? All the symptoms? Yeah, that's a question. Levels mean nothing. Dr. Thomas O'Connor, who I've had the privilege of getting to know over the years, he was with MD for a long time. He says, how do you feel? Because it doesn't really matter what's on paper, what those levels are. If you feel crappy or you feel great, that's, obviously if your blood pressure is high and your liver enzymes are high and things, that's cause for concern. And you do need to address that. But the main thing is how you feel. If you feel great, if you feel healthy, everything feels good, you're probably on the right track. What else do you see? Don't chase the number. Yes, I'm on TRT. I've been on TRT now for, 15 years. No, yeah, 15 years. Jeez. Mike Van Wyck is negative anyway. Others just talk trash about him and trains different than him. Yeah, which I don't get, I respect all training methodologies. I don't agree with them all. I wouldn't do them all myself, but I know they work for some people, and some people, that's how they enjoy training. Then what's wrong with that? What's wrong? I'm really not into the real brief workouts, heavy duty, HIT, the Dorian style. And I've been trained by Dorian a couple times. I don't enjoy that. I mean, I like to do it every once in a while. I feel I need someone like a Dorian right there making me do the extra intensity, because nobody trains as hard as you would train with Dorian Yates pushing you through a workout. I promise you that, guys. If any of you have ever had the privilege of having Dorian train you, or if, the privilege, you've never trained that hard in your life. He will get more out of you, more effort than you thought was humanly possible. And there's a pride element too. I mean, when I trained legs with Ronnie Coleman, I did a front squat 405, ass to grass, 10 reps. I had never done that before in my life, and I never did it again after that. And Ronnie wasn't helping me, but Ronnie Coleman was right behind me going, come on, Ron. Come on, Ron. Was I going to let Ronnie Coleman down? No, it's that mental boost, man, that adrenaline rush. I was down and up, down and up, down and up, and then he helped me rack it. And I was like, oh, my God, I just front squatted 405 for 10. This is back in 2005. This was a million years ago. But the point is, I would never have done that without Ronnie Coleman behind me. And I never did it again because I never had Ronnie Coleman spotting me again on squats. Symptoms there. Okay. I already answered that one. It's that one. Ignoring professional bodybuilders. I don't know anyone with a good physique who hasn't trained for years and fought for ways to progressively overload. Yeah, you got to get stronger. I mean, nobody goes from a starting point of strength without ever touching weight and stays at that point without getting bigger. And conversely, you're not going to get bigger if you don't get stronger. The two are linked. It's not a direct correlation after that, because eventually your strength will reach its final limit, your ultimate limit. You're not going to get any stronger after a certain point. But you'll find new ways to stimulate the muscle and to get that growth response. Intensity techniques, things like drop sets, rep tempo changes, volume changes, all kinds of things. Even obviously nutrition changes, supplements, PEDs, all those things will have an impact. Okay. Kalyan, you are the man, bro. You know what? I asked Chad. He finally got back to me and he said anytime. So I am going to get back to him. He said, my problem was I emailed him. He says, I never check my email. He said, here, I had his phone number, but I'm one of those old guys that I just email people first. He said, just text me when you want an interview. So next week is pretty open. A couple guys I really want to get going because I finally got past the stuff. Next week should be a slower week. We just have, Romania preview. Chad's somebody I want to get on, and I was really thinking about getting Lee Priest on. I've never had Lee Priest on this channel. I've had, when I was with MD, I did have Lee on, but he hasn't been on. And I did a podcast with him and another guy probably about a year ago, maybe it was that long ago. So yeah, Lee Priest, somebody, and Chad Nichols. Kalyan, you've been very good to me. I'm going to get on that. Why is my son-in-law calling me Chad? Okay. I want to say it was justified. Oh yeah, we're men and men do it. Yeah, I mean, it was. I'm sure. I hope Mike regrets it because it's the shitstorm that's come out of this for him. He got kicked out of the gym where he was training clients. He has to find a new place to train all those people. He's going to have to go to court. He's going to have to hire a lawyer. He's got a lot of support, a lot of people that are on his side, but then he's also got a lot of people that think he's a bad person now. He's a bully. He's a this and that. So it wasn't all positive for him. He's gotten a lot of negative attention out of this, it's not a good thing. The exercise science is not there yet for those exercise gurus making recommendations. They are. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of things that work on paper and they don't really apply in the real world. I always go back to the bumblebee thing. On paper, the bumblebee should not be able to fly. The wings are too small. The body's too heavy. Yet somehow these bumblebees, they fly around anyway. So sometimes these things that work in studies, you have to look at how the studies were performed. Whenever you look at the abstracts of studies, were these people trained or were they untrained? How old were they? Training experience is a big thing because sometimes a lot of these studies use college students that haven't done any weight training. Ideally, pretty much anything's going to work for them. So if you use advanced lifters in a study and you isolate certain variables, that's a much more effective way, I think, to get definitive answers. Mike adjust people on a rep string structure. God, I don't know enough about him. 900 tests. That's a lot of tests. Don't write checks. It's Alon. Alon, you must be mad at that comedian that's called Puerto Rico a floating garbage dump or whatever. That wasn't right. That was a bad choice of a comedian, Donald Trump. What the hell were you thinking putting that guy on? Simply as people don't care about the law. If you pop the gums, you have to be careful. Yeah, I mean, you can say you don't care about the law, but that's not going to stop the law from applying to you. It's not going to save you if the cops come, you can't tell the judge, well, I don't care about the law. You're like, oh, okay, you don't care about the law? Bang, bang, 4 years, whatever. I know I'm being ridiculous. I do every test possible. Every test, every type of testosterone. Wasn't science-based lifting Dr. Mike Israel Fuad's podcast Mike was on? He was agreeing with what he was saying. Yeah, that's a good example. I mean, Dr. Mike Israel, I guess because he's a big, jacked guy, science-based lifting is okay for him to talk about and espouse and believe in because he's big. But if someone who's not as big and not as impressive and mediocre, if they start spouting science-based evidence as far as the optimal ways to train, don't listen to them because they're small. So you see, it's just judging a book by its cover type of thing. And like I said, judging a book by its cover, the older you get in life, the more you realize that's often a mistake. Sometimes people you thought were bad people, you get to know them, they're awesome people. Sometimes people you looked on the outside, oh, this guy's a girl, whatever, they're good looking, they're this and that. On the outside, they seem like they're these amazing people. And then later on, you really got to know them. You're like, wow, they're actually awful. This is an awful person. Anyway. Kalyan says, come on, let me click on it. Doggone you, StreamYard. Why aren't you working? There we go. Come on. Training with Dorian seems more like a perdition than a privilege. It was fun. I mean, I got to do it. Actually, it was only twice. Yeah, he put me through a bicep workout, and he was here doing a seminar at a gym in New Jersey. I drove down for that. Bicep workout was like 15 minutes long. If that, it was probably 10 minutes long. It was like 3 exercises, like a couple warm-ups on each, and then a really hard set way past failure with 4 reps and all that. And my biceps was sore for a week. And then in the UK, I went to Birmingham. He put me through a workout. Yeah, because I never trained with Dorian. He trained me both times like a personal trainer would. Put me through a leg workout. It was about 45 minutes at the most. And my legs were killing me for a week. I had to walk around the expo in Birmingham, the Body Power Expo, the next day. I think 2 days because it was Saturday and a Sunday. My legs were, oh my God. I was like, why did I do that? I should have saved the workout for the last day I was there, but stupid me. I did it right off the plane, right off a red-eye flight, took the taxi directly to his gym until his man Vic was dead. He's not dead. He's not dead. He's dead wrong. He's not dead. Come on, guys. I wouldn't wish harm on Mike at all. I have nothing personal against Mike. I bet we probably get along great. Although now that I've made these videos, maybe not, but I competed with him years ago. He's a gym bro, like most of us. So we have more in common than not. CV McNeckbeard. I did as well. I was split on my phone. Oh, because it probably stopped after a certain amount of characters. Oh, geez. I hope I'm not misleading people there because that's not my title and that's not my thumbnail. Chris Stefan Brogovac, depressive overlay. Just finding a way to do a little more from session to session, be weights, reps, technique. I was just saying it's not all genetics, it's also drive. Oh, yeah. There's been plenty of guys with great genetics who just were lazy in the gym. We've all seen them. If you've been around gyms long enough, you've known plenty of guys who everything just came so easy to them. They grew so easily that if they had to put in an extra effort to get past that, they weren't willing to do it. They didn't want to really work hard. They liked the results they got from half-assing it. But once they realized to get past that, to get to another level, they would really have to get serious about training harder, training smarter, eating more, eating better, getting more rest, not partying, drinking, doing the rec drugs and all that. They were out. I've known a ton of guys like that over the years and years of work. Yeah, nobody builds a great physique overnight. Mike doesn't give a fuck. No, he doesn't. That's fine. Like I said, man, I have nothing against Mike. Famous for running leg workout in the parking lot lunges through a puddle of water. It was on a puddle. It was pouring rain. And I know this sounds like a weak complaining thing, but I had brand new sneakers that I saved for that trip because I was one of those sneakerheads. I used to buy a pair of sneakers every week or every other week at the least. I had a brand new pair of Nikes. Can't remember what type of Nikes they were. They were like cross trainers or something. And then, the second day we're there, we're going through the mud. I'm like, oh, these shoes are getting wrecked. And I think I even said something to Ronnie. He said, I'll buy you a new pair. He didn't. I didn't ask him to. But yeah, those parking lot lunges were a pain in the ass. No, the training with Ronnie was not recorded. I have a few pictures I put up on Facebook, on Instagram a few times a year when they pop up. I wish I had that recording. But it wasn't just me. It was a group of like 5 of us doing legs. It was me, Ronnie, and like 3 other campers, because Ronnie used to do these muscle camps where you would go to his house. You didn't stay at his house. He put us all up at a hotel that was only a couple minutes away from where he lived, 5 minutes away. We went to Metroflex 3 different times, twice. We went to Metroflex the first night just to check it out. We all trained at Metroflex one day. I got to train with Ronnie and a few of the other groups. We got broken up into like groups of 5. The other people had to work with Ronnie's friends. I didn't get special treatment. We picked the numbers out of a hat. I got very lucky and I got to train with Ronnie. Anyway, he took us to a Dallas Mavericks game. He took us to a church. He took us out to eat 3 times a day. We paid whatever we paid. We got way more value out of it. Ronnie, I don't think he even broke even. I think he lost money on all those, but he didn't care. He was doing it for the fans. If getting stronger is key to bigger muscle, I'm most proud of the physique look subpar compared to the body. Well, that's another good point, Sean. We've all known people that were very, very strong and they weren't very big or impressive, like muscular. And a lot of times you'll see big muscular guys and they're not as strong as you would think they are. They're strong compared to like the average Joe. But, you're sitting there pressing, I don't know, you're sitting there curling like 40s dumbbells or something. And you see this guy's only doing 50s. You're like, hey, his arms are twice the size of mine. Why isn't he curling like 80s or 90s? Or his legs are so huge. Why isn't I can squat 400. Why isn't he squatting like 800? Yeah, it's the size, muscle size and strength aren't as directly related as a lot of us would think they are. Studies are done comparing one exercise. Yeah. Studies, you have to really look at the parameters very carefully and how they were conducted. At 44 years old, you should be wise. A grown man getting mad for childish reason, not very manly. The guy who saw exercise. The opposite of real man. Yeah, Mark, no argument there, but that's another video. Do you see that Ola Krivi took his first steps going upstairs? So he's doing his best to come back. Yeah. I've met Ola before, but I got to interview him at the New York Pro this year, which he won the 212 division. Very cool guy. He trained for that show literally in the middle of a war. Like buildings were being bombed in his city. They would lose power for a day or 2 or 3 days sometimes. Can you imagine preparing for a major bodybuilding competition, the New York Pro, in a war zone with power, losing power and trying to get all your meals in and your workouts in and all that? So much respect to that guy. This is not about the war in Ukraine. It's just he was in the middle of that war. All jumping out shots, sign of insecurity. Canadian Beef Podcast, 10-minute biceps sore for a week. Yeah, believe me. When Dorian puts you through one of those workouts, on paper, it wouldn't look like much. You'd be like, that's all you did? You just did those 3 exercises for like 2 works? That's it. But when you're going through it, you're like, oh my God, he makes you go very heavy, makes you get every possible rep. And then when you've gotten every possible rep, you get more reps. He gives you forced reps. He has you negatives, all kinds of shit until that muscle, every last muscle fiber is just obliterated, blasted. You have nothing left. Those are definitely some very memorable workouts. Stefan, Sean, powerlifters focus on 3 lifts, 1 rep max, become fat and active lift. Yeah, I mean, another point to make with strength training is very different from hypertrophy training is the time under tension. You don't get that growth response from the muscle unless it's under tension a certain amount of time. It takes more reps. That's why these people, Olympic lifters, are good. If you ever watch the Olympics and the weightlifting portion, you'll see these guys. Typically, yeah, they look muscular. They definitely look like they work out, but they're not huge like bodybuilders. And they do things like, I've seen these guys from places like Bulgaria and Turkey, 140, 50-pound guys, pick up like 300, 400 pounds off the ground, real super fast. It's explosive and snatch and put it over their heads. Bodybuilders, no bodybuilder I know could take 400 pounds and do that, but that's how they train. They train for that. Kalyan, Krishna, thank you for blagging my request for Chad Nichols. I will get Chad before I get Lee. How's that? Because I haven't talked to Chad in a while. Someone had said he was having health issues. I hope that's not the case. I've talked to Chad. I've known Chad a long, long time, and I really hope he's doing okay. So I will get that. Yeah. Ron, you're always saying some lame stuff. Yeah. When Andrew was on, he seemed arrogant. I said for him to change. That's what we all have been thinking. We disagreed to be all ass kissy. For him to change, I said it for him to change. I don't know what you mean by that. Disagreed to be ass kissy. No, I think I told him. I don't know if I told him, but I wasn't impressed with his condition at the Olympia. I'm not impressed with his hamstrings. He's not where he needs to be yet. He needs to improve those things. He needs to be a little sharper, and he needs more hamstrings. If he's going to rise to the top, he's going to maybe beat Samson Dauda. So, yeah, if I was being ass kissy, I'm sorry if you took it that way. I only had a very short time to talk with him. There was very little notice for the interview. My friend Giles had him in his studio. He was doing a podcast for Olympia TV on their channel using his studio. And I had the opportunity to do it almost at the last minute, and I jumped on it. Like, I'm not going to miss a week after the Olympia, and I get the chance to interview Andrew Jack, and I wasn't going to upset him with questions. So if that makes me soft or lame or whatever, it is what it is. Stefan, it's a shame what Mike Van Wyck did. I think maybe 44 online shire is better means to plug on. Yeah. I'll tell you, these online to eat surplus calories and all-out effort for low reps cause hypertrophy, but does not. Well, the all-out effort for low reps wouldn't cause hypertrophy because, again, the muscle's not getting that stimulus. It's not getting that time under tension. I've coached people and I've counseled a lot of people. I've had guys that they couldn't get their legs to grow, and I had them tell me exactly what they were doing for legs, and they were doing, say, squat sets of 4 or 5 reps, leg presses 6 to 8 reps, things like that, low reps for hypertrophy purposes. I said, do this for the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. I want you to do 10 to 15 reps on every set of squats. You do all your work sets, and your leg presses 15 to 20. And every other workout, I want you to throw in a set of like 50 or 100 reps for leg press, stuff like that. And every single one of them, when I got back to them, their legs grew. And they're like, oh, wow. And that's the only change they did. It was just more reps, more time under tension. He's lucky in Canada. Yeah, we have more guns in the USA. Private citizens in the USA collectively own more guns, more firearms than all the armies in the world combined. We have more guns. So I don't know what the actual number is, but it's in the hundreds of millions. You know, I have 3 pistols myself, and I'm not like a collector or anything. I happen to have 3. I have an older brother, lives down south now. He's had guns his whole life. He probably has about 30, 40 guns, rifles and pistols. So yeah, we love our guns here. Samson probably lacked the crispy condition, which is usually expected of Mr. Olympia winner, which is reminiscent of Brandon Curry's victory. Yeah. Brandon wasn't the best condition at all that year, but he had everything else. He had size, really pretty shape, structure. It was a beautiful physique with a good amount of size. He's 5'8", and he was probably about 240, 245 on stage, maybe closer to 250, whatever he was. He looked fantastic. Your muscles need novel stimulus to grow after a while. 1 rep maxes won't do it. Adding a few pounds more. Yeah. Yeah. From there, it's so you have more. You want to continue. He didn't continue. So anyway, more technique and psychology. Define novel. Now you guys are arguing amongst yourselves. I think it's a bad dude. Definitely screw up and reflect. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Mike is a bad, evil person or anything like that. I think he made a horrible decision. His temper got the best of him. He wasn't able to control his emotions, and he physically reacted in an environment where it's just not acceptable legally, morally, all that good stuff. Nike Shocks. I think they were Nike Shocks. They might have been Nike. Were they? I don't know. They were Nikes. I remember that. Yeah. So if you bench 600, so that's back to the chest thing. I do. My genetics for chest were gifted. So I'm not saying my strategy was the only reason this happened, but I knew plenty of people that could bench a lot more than me. And my bench was never great. It was never great. Dumbbells, I could do really good sets with like 120s, 130s, and 140s. Not so great. I would only get like 5 or 6 reps. I think I did 150s once for like 3 or 4 shitty reps. But the point being, there were people who had much stronger bench presses than me, people that could go heavier on dumbbells than me, but my chest was bigger and thicker than theirs. Why? Typically, I was doing more reps. I was getting more squeeze and better contractions out of the chest, getting good stretch on every rep. These things all matter. I ever witnessed a gym fight? No, they've happened at gyms that I've gone to, but for whatever reason, I just didn't happen to be there when they happened, when those went down. Would powerlifting be considered HIT? No. HIT is geared toward hypertrophy. It's geared toward stimulating muscle growth. I can hear my dog wants to go. Let's go on his walk. People think he seems arrogant. I am a good dude. Thank you, MVP. I try to be. Smash the like button, subscribe, do all that good stuff. That's where I leave the ticker up. Samson. Don't know if you discussed topic of Rubiel dropping out of Prague now. Talks to me. You got raining everywhere. Falling through periods. Yeah. You know, he's still new in the IFBB Pro League. He's still trying to find his way. I don't know anything about him. I don't know him personally, so I don't know what he's going through. You know, maybe he has personal things going on or mental, psychological. Who knows? I don't know what the deal is with him. But yeah, when you say you're going to do a show, unless you're injured, you really should do the damn show. USA. We do love guns. We do. The Real Report runs a good dude. But when Ron asked Andrew about cheat meals, okay, he answered very arrogant. People think Andrew has a resting bitch face. He's poor when he speaks. He's just very, I don't know how else to put it. He's very chill. He's not a very animated guy. So it comes, I think it could, his voice is a little monotone and he doesn't have a lot of facial expressions. So he can come across, I think, as arrogant a lot of times. I'm going to do a power hour with Giles. Giles spent a week or 10 days. It might have been like 10 days. Giles really got to know him well on this tour. They did an Olympia All-Stars tour all around the UK. They even went to Scotland. So Giles, I'm going to find out from Giles what impressions he got. He really did get to know the guy. He was with them day and night for well over a week. So let's find out. I don't think he had a bad attitude. No, see, I think you're really getting, again, we have perceptions sometimes when we see people, you might assume things. Oh, that guy's an asshole. That girl's a bitch. Then a lot of times people you think were a jerk and you talk to them. There was a guy at my gym, this Brazilian guy. He does jiu-jitsu. He's got pretty good build on him. And for the longest time, I thought he was like always giving like dirty looks. And I thought he was a jerk, a mean guy, an asshole. One day I started talking to him and now we talk all the time. He's the coolest guy. It's just, that's the way he looks. And I got the wrong impression of him. And I think a lot of times we get the wrong impression from people. Andrew barely speaks English. That's not true. He speaks very good English. We all know what I mean. If Andrew doesn't handle gear well, it's always pissing a lot of problem. I mean, I've seen people that don't handle the gear well. I wouldn't put him in that category. Andrew get better placing. That's why I'm going to be better with people. I don't think that should have it. I don't think it does have any impact on your placing. I don't think it should have any impact on your placing. You know, this isn't a popularity contest. It's not the Miss America pageant where you're supposed to charm people or anything like that. It shouldn't be anything like that. That shouldn't have anything to do with it. Weight in the bar doesn't mean stillness in the muscle, the best form of master. It's not the best form of very chest. Yeah, I totally agree. We see people bounce the weight off their chest. We see them only doing like little half reps. I mean, I was always slow negatives. I never did explosive. I've heard explosive works well too. I do that more so now with things like biceps and maybe delts. But it was always slow squeezes, really focusing on squeeze, stretch. That was always there were always the terms I had in my head. Squeeze the muscle, stretch the muscle on every rep. And that always worked well for me. Got the wrong song on stage. I hate people who say he's punished for it. I don't think he got the wrong song. I think what happened was there was profanity in his song. It had F-bombs and the N-word. And, Steve Weinberger, the head Olympia judge, he's a stickler for that. He does not stand for that. He will tell the music man, he'll make the sign, cut the music. I think that's what happened. I don't think they got the song. They did get Breon Ansley's music wrong. That did happen. I don't know if Andrew needs he got real mad. Yeah, I mean, when you practice, I don't think he understood what was going on. I don't think he knew why his music was cut off. And he thought they just screwed up. And, you practice a routine. You put a routine together to a certain song, and then you don't get that song. They're just going to give some random music. It's pretty alarming. Your thoughts on Simpson not displaying an ideal condition we expect from Mr. Olympia winner? Yeah, I don't think you need to be shredded out of your skull. It's, for years we've been saying it's become a glute contest. Who's got the most strided glutes? Yeah, it's the overall physique, but it's like you can't win a show without super strided glutes. Well, why not? If you have the best physique up there in every aspect, someone out conditions you a little more. Someone's glutes are a little better, but overall you have the better physique. You should win, not them, just because they have strided glutes. So I was actually happy to see it. And I'm a huge fan of extreme. I love to see extreme conditioning. Who doesn't? It's freaky. You see all those little muscle fibers. It's cool. Believe me, I get it. But at the same time, why does that have to be mandatory? If everything else is there and you're in really good condition, but you don't have super carved out glutes, everything else is nice and clear and ripped. You see every little muscle group. You shouldn't have to have the most strided glutes up there too. That's just my opinion. Always do explosive in the concentric, slow in the concentric, heavy the weight, harder to lift it is, supposed to lift slowly. MVP, judges wanted more tighter Andrew and Cedar wanted to bring him bigger. That's bad coaching period. Yeah, I don't think it was a good strategy. They tried bringing him in bigger and hoping that would pan out, and it didn't succeed. It was a bad gamble. Jason Huh, now he was all about just doing the stretch component, wasn't he? Which I think has had a lot of evidence supporting it. I always like to get a full range of motion. I'll do partials in the stretch. I'll do partials in the contraction too, but I don't like to just do one part of the rep. So I've never gave it a try, so I can't say personally if it did anything for me. 33 will take gear for the first time in Turkey B. Is 33 too late to start? No, tons of guys have started around the age. If you look at female bodybuilding, that's a good indication because most of them don't get into it until their 30s. Men tend to start earlier. They start training in gear in their late teens, early 20s a lot of times. Most women bodybuilders, they get into it much later in life for whatever reasons. And clearly, the Ms. Olympia stage was packed with women in their 40s and even in their 50s. So that tells you it's not too late to start. Is Miss America 2024? I don't know. Is that who won the last one? Kalian from India's condition was made synonymous with hard work, never listened, became synonymous with heavy diuretic use. Yeah, you don't get that dry. When we say dry, what's dry? So you have to get all the body fat off, then you have to get all the water out to dry out. It's dangerous to take all the water out of your body because your body's made up of mostly water. So when you take out the water, it's not a good thing. Your body is not happy. It doesn't, I'm not explaining this medically because I don't have that medical background, but it's a very risky thing health-wise. Your electrolytes can get out of balance. People have had heart attacks. Nobody's ever died right after taking steroids that same day. Many people over the years have died from diuretics the day they use those diuretics. So getting all the water out of your body, extreme amounts of water quickly, it can be very, very dangerous. I'm coming up on an hour, guys, so I'm going to take off. I got to walk my dog get back to a couple things. So appreciate you guys so much for watching this. Hope you had a good time talking, and take care of yourself. Subscribe, like, share, do all that good stuff. I will talk to you all later. Peace out.